Scroll 33, SunRa, Sonic Prophet of the Eternal Now. A metaphysical flowering in 33 paragraphs. He was never born, not in the way they tell it. The records say Herman Poole Blount, Birmingham, Alabama, 1914, but that's just an Earthside shell casing. Sun Ra descended like a harmonic encryption, cloaked in melanin, pulsing with waveform memory from the rings of Saturn. He wasn't raised, he was tuned, tempered in frequencies only heard between worlds. The mission was clear from the start: resurrect the ancient by way of sound. No scriptures, no saviors, no waiting, just vibration and memory. Sun Ra wasn't trying to fit in with jazz musicians. He wasn't trying to be accepted by avant-garde composers. He was assembling a craft, one made from polyrhythms, black holes, and forgotten mythologies. He called his band the Orchestra, not a misspelling, but a resonant correction. Like Noah's Ark, it carried the chosen codes. And like radium, it beamed from the solar mystery. This was a spacecraft that played nightclubs like wormholes. Every note he played was a ritual, every dissonant clash a fracture in linear time. He was the first to say, "I am not of this planet," and mean it. Not metaphorically, not as slang, but as ontological truth. He wasn't role-playing Saturnian. He was reporting Saturnian. He didn't wear robes to perform. He performed rituals in robes because clothes are also frequencies. Fabric and sound are siblings. He pioneered Afrofuturism without permission. While civil rights leaders were marching, he was orbiting. While academia debated liberation, he said, "Liberation is impossible without leaving the system behind." And leaving didn't mean a passport. It meant a vibration so powerful that the system couldn't even find your coordinates. That's what space is the place really meant. Sun Ra's language was sound, but his dialect was intention. Every piano stroke opened timelines. Every horn section was a solar wind. The orchestra didn't improvise. They channeled interdimensional order disguised as chaos. Each session was not for applause. It was for the decoding of soul matter. They weren't practicing music. They were practicing exit. He built a sonic curriculum long before there were lectures on metaphysics. He taught that the Earth was a prison planet, held hostage by false time, and that music was the jailbreak key. His compositions looked random to the uninitiated, but they were architectural blueprints for melanin-based ascension. He told us, if you want to be a part of the future, you must be willing to leave the present. Where others saw jazz, he saw geometries in motion. His rhythms mirrored solar flares. His horns mimicked the tones of Mercury's plasma belt. Even his silence between notes was intentional. Space inside of space. The void as a message. If you couldn't decode it, it wasn't for you. He wasn't here to be understood. He was here to activate those who remembered. He was the prototype that Bobby Hemmett would later decode. He was the waveform that Delbert Blair studied in frequency language. Phil Valentine followed in his harmonic footsteps. Dr. York built temples. Sun Ra built vibratory exit ramps. They all pointed back to him, whether they said it or not. He was the sound before the scroll. In his presence, instruments became ritual devices. You didn't play the saxophone, you conjured through it. Rehearsals were sacred. No drugs, no ego, no half-stepping. Discipline was the highest note. He trained his orchestra to perform as if an intergalactic tribunal was listening. Because it was. He said, "I'm not a man, I'm a myth." But myths don't just inspire, they infect. They ripple outward. Sun Ra infected the timeline with quantum liberty. His myth became a reality for thousands who still wear robes and build sonic temples. He is the living proof that you don't have to die to be eternal. You just have to resonate at the right pitch. The movie spaces, the place wasn't sci-fi. It was a Saturnian gospel. In it, he offers black folks a one-way ticket off Earth, but not to escape, to transmute, to re-enter as gods cloaked in light. The plot was metaphor, prophecy, and veiled ritual all at once. That VHS tape became a sacred text for the elect. He understood that our oppression was sonic, that every colonial system is underpinned by bad frequency, that liberation must be retuned, not reformed. That's why he didn't march, he modulated. He didn't protest, he programmed. The piano was his protest sign, and each key was a sigil. He decoded Egypt not as location, but as waveform geometry. He wore ankhs because they were tuning forks. He summoned Ra not as God, but as light frequency interface. To him, ancient Kemetic science was unfinished, not because it lacked info, but because it lacked sound. He was there to finish it. He didn't see melanin as pigment. He saw it as sonic memory foam, a conductor of tone, a black box recorder from your past lives. That's why he only hired melanin-heavy musicians for certain rituals. He needed their cellular recall to be high enough to hold the codes. To speak his name is to open a portal. You don't like Sun Ra, you realign with him. He's not a taste, he's a test. If you flinch at his sound, you ain't ready for the timeline he came from. If you feel it in your bone marrow, you were probably there when he left Saturn. He never said, "Follow me." He said, "Follow the sound." That was the difference. He wasn't a messiah, he was a map. A moving, vibrating cartography of liberation. Oral geometry for starseed return. Even his name was a spell. Sun equal to center of our system. Radium equal to the radiant code. SunRa equal to radiant code of the center. It wasn't ego, it was an assignment. He wore the name like armor, not for protection, but for conduction. When he said history is irrelevant, he didn't mean forget the past. He meant history is rigged code. He offered myth science as the reboot. Not lies, but higher truths in metaphor form. He saw metaphysics as more real than facts, because they vibrated past limitation. He was woke before it was a meme, but not in a social justice sense, in a cosmic autonomy sense. Woke as in, I refuse to reincarnate into this game again. Woke as in, I've hacked the simulation using melody. Woke as in, I don't bleed time. I compose it. SunRa didn't die. He deresonated. He untethered from this plane after finalizing his sonic manuscript. His orchestra still plays today in his name because his tone still echoes through Earth's ionosphere. You can't kill a waveform. Ceremonial interlude flowers for Mr. Lawrence Covington. I didn't even know who SunRa was until my English teacher at UDC, Mr. Lawrence Covington, put me on. This was back in the early 2000s. I wasn't trying to be deep, and I definitely wasn't aiming to win anything. Truth is, I was just trying to get extra credit in his class because my grade wasn't looking too good at the time. But the universe had bigger plans. It was around 2003 or 2004 when UDC hosted a poetry slam. I stepped up to the mic and let my cipher fly. Raw, cosmic, unapologetic. I thought it was just for credit, but I ended up walking away with $150 and a cosmic initiation. Afterward, Mr. Covington came up to me, congratulated me, and said something I'll never forget. You remind me of Sun Radium. I had no idea who that was. That one line cracked open a portal. Mr. Covington didn't leave it at that. He loaned me his VHS copy of Space is the Place. He told me, I need that tape back, and I made sure to return it. Because I realized quick, this wasn't just a movie, it was a scroll, a torch being passed. Through him, I got my turning music into spacecraft, making sound the doorway out. That's why I've got to give flowers to Mr. Lawrence Covington, too. He wasn't just teaching English. He was teaching me how to write like vibration, how to rhyme like I talk, how to move my words smooth and sovereign. He saw something in me I hadn't seen yet. Without him, I might not have touched SunRa's current when I did. He was more than a teacher. He was a frequency tuner in human form. Thank you, Mr. Covington. You didn't just grade papers, you graded frequency. He gave us permission to be mythic again, to dress how we felt on the inside, to speak in code and frequency, to see the band not as entertainment but as ritual technology, and most importantly, to exit this plantation of thought via soundship. If you've ever freestyled and surprised yourself with your own bars, you've touched his current. If you've ever cried at a tone you couldn't explain, you felt his residue. If you've ever called yourself Starseed, you're picking up his drop signal. He walks so Thundercat, Flying Lotus, and Kamasi Washington could hover. But none of them are him, they're echoes. He was the initial chord, the one that rang out through time, uncapturable, unreplicable, unapologetically interstellar. Let this scroll be flowers beyond graveyards. Let it ring across vinyl static and dusty VHS tapes. Let it live in your headphones like a whisper from Saturn. Let it remind you, music is still the way out. SunRa is not a retro artist. He's a future initiation, waiting on you, already coded in you. All you have to do is listen. So go ahead, put on Nuclear War, close your eyes and let him open the gate, but don't just vibe, study, feel, activate.